Hey everybody, welcome to this module. Dr. Z here, and today I want to talk to you all about how the body makes energy, which is a crucial factor in being able to figure out how your body works with different diets so that you can reverse this disease, so you can reverse type 2 diabetes. Now, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'm going to show you how your body starts working out, how your body starts getting uh, fuel. Now, if we start running 100-meter race, you and I right now, and we get going, the first two steps that we're gonna do is actually the body has already stored, ready to go energy. It's like fuel, and this is called ATP, right? ATP. Now, the amazing thing is that the body has about 285 grams of this, and it lasts about 10 seconds. So we're talking about the first two steps. Now, if we keep going, like in a 400-meter race, then we're gonna start using the glucose in the body. So I'm not talking about breaking down glucose. I'm not talking about any other forms of, of, of how the glucose gets stored. I'm talking about glucose, pure glucose that's in the body, and is breaking it down. And it's called lysis, is to break, and glucose is glucose, so is uh, glucolysis, right? It's called the glycotic processes. But whatever the words, it just means that the glucose is being broken down. Now, if this doesn't happen over time, you're gonna start having a ball like this. And if you think of it as when you grow up, you have a bunch of sugar, right? You have sugar here, here, here. I'm gonna make it a little wider. So you have a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sugar. Okay, good, right? So if you're not burning that, if you're not burning that glucose in those 400-meter races, then what happens next time? It grows more, right? And if you're not burning that up, it grows more. And if you're not burning that up, it grows more. It grows more. And if we're starting to do the American diet, or it's called the standard American diet, which is poised with carbohydrates or sugar, then it just grows more and more. What's going to happen to this ball? What's going to happen to this ball is that it's going to overflow, right? But before it does, I want to share with you something, right? The body at this point starts secreting insulin to make sure that it doesn't overflow. Think about it that way, so it doesn't overflow. And so insulin kind of packs it more and packs it more and packs it more. And so you have a high level of insulin, higher level of insulin, higher levels of insulin, and it packs it more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And insulin is the person who's packing it more and more and more and more and more into places, packing it. Guess what's going to happen? Insulin is going to be to the point that it cannot, and this is going to start overflowing. At that point, you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The problem is that you've been insulin resistant, meaning that the insulin has been trying to do its job, but it can't anymore because it's overflowing, right? And so that's going to take us into the next phase. And so the glucose is there, but it can only last us anywhere from a couple of seconds to 2 minutes. Incredible, right? That's how much how it's there, right? So we're talking about the 400-meter, right? 400-meter race. Now you keep going in that 400-meter race, you're gonna be dead by the time you finish the race. I mean, it's just gonna go and go and go. And so what happens is that the next energy consumption, your body is going to start breaking down. um, I guess before I go into this, the body doesn't need any oxygen here. The body doesn't need any oxygen, meaning the body doesn't need to tap into your heart or your lungs um, in a way to get oxygen, because it has that energy ready to go near the muscles, ready to go near where it needs it. Because if you're running from a bear, you need that energy immediately. But now, what happens if you keep going? If you keep going, then your body's gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna have to go to glycogen, and we're going to have to go into making down more sugar so that we can use it, right? And um, it breaks down really all of the carbohydrates, it breaks down all the fats, and it breaks down all the proteins. And so carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Remember, we went in with the course that we went through how much percentage of proteins, how much percentage of water, how much percentage of fat, and that carbohydrates is actually only 1% of how our bodies are made out of. So our bodies then start using stores, right? It starts using stores of glycogen, or so if I store it here, the body says, okay, hey, you guys are pretty packed right there. Let me come and break it down and break you into little pieces so I can use it as glucose, right? So that's how the body starts doing that. And that's how the body creates the same thing that was down here. That's how the body creates ATP. This is what we need for energy. So that's how the body makes ATP. And this is like the energy. This is the name of the game right here. That's what the body's trying to make. That's the fuel. That's the currency of the body. Because once that's the energy becomes because of the way that molecule is, when it releases, it creates energy. That's why that has energy. And so then what happens is that after what happens if you're running through all of that? Well, your body's gonna start saying, okay, I'm gonna make another ball, and now I'm not just gonna store it in the liver, but let's store it somewhere else. Let's store it in the heart. Let's store it in the heart. Let's store it in the pancreas. And now it's being stored also as glycerols. Um, as fats. It's being stored as fat too. So insulin is great because it gets stored. So if it gets packed up, then insulin starts just going and packing it somewhere else, and starts packing it somewhere else, and starts packing it up here. Pack, 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 and starts packing it, right? In all your organs. And it only when it goes into the blood, let's say if this is the blood, that's when you have diabetes, right? When it gets stored into the blood. And that's when you have high blood sugar, and insulin doesn't want to see it in the blood. So it packs it, it shoves it. It doesn't get rid of the sugar, it just shoves it somewhere else. Now, so what happens is that the body goes after the carbohydrates first. But then if the carbohydrates go below 50, so you have to remember this number. If the carbohydrates go below, if if carbohydrates if if carbohydrates go less than 50 grams per day, then the body's like, man, we don't have enough to do this. So it starts going after the protein, and it starts going after the fat. So what's the beautiful thing about that? The beautiful thing about that is that it then starts using up and recycling all of this. It pulls it out, So he pulls one of these little packages up. That has been stored like this because they have to be packed, right? To be stored. And then he turns them into little balls again so that we can use it, so that the brain can use it, so that the other organs can use it. Now, what happens is that then the body goes, that is called a catabolic state. A catabolic state means that it's breaking down everything to use it. It's like another word for recycle. So catabolic state is like recycling because it's recycling everything that it was using. It's just recycling it, recycling it, recycling it, and recycling. And to do that, he has to create glucose and he has to create ketones. And I'm going to make the ketones these guys right here. And he makes them out of that. Boom. Now the brain can use glucose, the brain can use ketones to function. And it's continually breaking down. That's why some people, when they're going through this transition, their blood sugars, their body think that they're going hypoglycemic, so they'll push out, they'll break down a bunch of stuff. Their blood sugars will go up, and people kind of freak out because they think that their blood sugar is going up and they take insulin. And so you got to be mindful of the whole thing. And now what happens as soon as the carbohydrates go below 50 grams, guess what happens to insulin? Insulin goes into the floor, starts dropping. And then if insulin decreases, that means that fats and glucose storage decreases because insulin is trying to pack it. But if you lower the insulin and the glucose, you can get rid of fat easily. So fat and glucose storage stop, right? And so that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing, guys. That's the cool thing. So now, the amazing thing is that we can then, by understanding this, we can then understand how we deal with the diets, right? And now, I'm gonna clear these up. Boom. I'm gonna clear the whole thing out. And now, how do you do with diets? So at the beginning of this, I'm gonna share with you the framework that I've kind of developed after going through so much confusion, and our patients and our clients going through so much confusion from diet after diet after diet after diet because they don't know what to eat. So I'm gonna break it down for you so you know exactly what's going on after what I just told you. You might have to watch this a couple of times, but okay, follow me for a second here. So, for many people, when they start going into diets, the sad American diet has gone all over the world, and it's sad for standard American diet, and it's horrible because it's full and full and full of carbohydrates, full and full and full of carbohydrates. Even if something is advertised as keto, even if something is advertised as healthy, it's probably full of carbohydrates. So you have to make sure that you check that. And so then, as people are saying, okay, I'm gonna go away from diabetes, I'm gonna beat this problem. There's a little bit of a cliff right there. And often people need a bridge, right, to get there, a little ladder, support. And then oftentimes then they end up going into maybe using all organic food, right? Organic food, whole food, whole food, organic food. Sometimes that does it, guys. Sometimes for a lot of people, that does it. Just having organic food, that is the key. That does it completely. But for some people, it doesn't. It doesn't. So some people have to go another step, right? And so for some people, they have to do vegetarian or pescatarian. Now, I want to make sure with you that I share with you three simple things right here. I'm going to share with you three key principles. The first one is bio-individuality. Bio-individuality. Individuality. The second one is going to be crowding out. And the third one is going to be 95.5. 95.5. 95.5. So bioindividuality means, look, if I am like a meat eater and that's what I want to do, it doesn't align with me to be vegetarian, right? Now, the other deep part of that is that bioindividuality is important because studies show that if you eat a banana and I eat a banana, our glycemic responses are a lot different. So our bodies react differently to different sugars. That's why it's important to know, okay, what is your goal? When I was running triathlons, my goal for nutrition was completely different. Now I'm trying to do something different, like bulking up muscle. And so it's different. And so what I require is different at different times of my life, right? And so it's bioindividuality. If you're trying to reach type 2 diabetes remission, you have bioindividuality because you have different goals. And so we have to make sure of that. Crowding out means that, hey, what is your body made out of the most? Water. Then protein, then fat, then carbohydrates. So you want to crowd out with stuff that your body is made out of the most, right? What is your body going to do with 20 grams of carbohydrates, with 20% of carbohydrates when it's made out of 1% carbohydrates, right? And so then for some people that doesn't work. So they have to go to the next level. And what is this next level? Well, for some people, they have to do food sensitivity testing. For some people, they have celiac disease, so they have to go do gluten free, right? And so that doesn't work for everybody. And then for some people, that doesn't even do it, guys. And I've heard it all, right? People come to see me because nothing has been working. And so what happens is that they then go, and the key here is they start getting results when they go anywhere from 30 to 90 carbs a day, right? And this is specifically for type 2 diabetes remission, remember, right? And then some people that doesn't even work, right? And so that's when I call upon the last step of the ladder, which is an n equals 1 approach. In the n equals 1 approach, what is n? N means the number of people in a study. And so we describe studies in medicine as n equals 100, n equals 10,000, n equals 20,000, depending how many people are in the study. But because we are bio-individual, we need to see what's in your body and what's in your study, like who you are the study. And the key thing is that studies show from Dr. Eric Westman at Duke University that if you want this to work like a prescription for type 2 diabetes, the carbohydrate per day is 20 grams per day, right? If you want it to work like type 2 diabetes, right? And so that means that your body is going to be breaking down all the excess sugar. And by what? By increasing your protein and your healthy oil intake, or what we call fat. And it doesn't mean that fruits are bad. It doesn't mean that that's bad. But I've admitted people in the hospital that eat too many fruits. People can gain weight with too many fruits. I've met them before. And I've met a patient once that started eating all fruits, thinking that that was going to cure his diabetes, and he ended up in the ER. And so the studies from Dr. Eric Westman show that this is like a prescription, right? This is how, but what do you have to test to see if this is working for you? Well, you have to take your blood sugar and you have to take your blood ketones, to make sure that your insulin resistance is not going up. Why? Because let's say that in the morning I check your glucose, your blood glucose, your fasting blood glucose, and in the morning I check your fasting insulin glucose. If your blood glucose are low and your insulin is low, we're good. But if your blood glucose is high and your insulin is high, man, we got a problem because your insulin can't even keep your sugar down. The other problem is that the blood glucose is normal, and so then the fasting test for the doctor say, oh, this is normal, but they haven't checked the insulin level, the fasting insulin level, and when they do is high, that means you are on your way to type 2 diabetes very easily because it's taking that much more insulin to keep those low blood sugars, right? And so 20 grams a day in blood glucose and ketones and intermittent fasting. That is the N equals 1. That is the prescription, guys. And so that was the most important thing for this module. I hope that made a lot of sense. I know it was a little bit too much, but I just wanted to break down exactly how food comes into energy and what happens at every stage that we're burning down energy, and how do we take that into an approach for type 2 diabetes reversal. And so I hope that this was useful, and I'll see you guys in the next module. All right, until next time, take it easy.